leave them like unedited or whatever.
Sure.
So if you ever have to forget anything, like what did Jesse say?
Oh, that's great.
Right, you just go
Okay,
back to this.
that's really useful.
Any questions before we get started?
Yeah, can you tell me how tight they're supposed to be?
Sure. I have a nail clipper because my employee busted her nail.
Oh, no.
Just a random nail clipper flying around. All right.
I feel like hers is probably too loose.
Yes. So here, when it comes to fitting a collar, if I move it to the side, right, and you can see if I grab it, it's very easily swivels around.
Yeah.
That tells me too loose. Okay.
Okay.
So when we place this here, I'm gonna get this snug. And I don't go by the collar, I go by the probes. Okay. So here, when it's fitted correctly, it should be very difficult to get a finger underneath.
Okay.
Okay, and I should feel some pressure, which I do. Okay.
Okay.
And then with the excess for the first 2 weeks, what I recommend is that you just curl this
Through.
inwards to make a little bow
Yeah.
before you clip it. So in case you have to exchange it or anything like that,
Oh, okay. Okay.
makes life easier.
Yeah,
And once it's been 2 weeks and we know everything is fitting well and fine and working,
Go ahead.
you can clip it.
Okay.
Yeah, we got the 2-dog and the 1-dog system.
Okay. And they're on individuals.
They're on individuals.
Okay,
Right.
so that's a 2-dog because then
Yeah,
there's a
she's gonna be
bigger guy.
sharing with Bruce.
Okay, that works. So for her, she's also a little bit loose. People shy.
She's man shy. She's very sweet. She's never bitten anybody. She
Yes,
just
you
takes
see.
a second to warm up to men.
Yeah. So you see here how I can get my whole hand in there. So you're gonna take this. And you guys read through your book and everything?
Yes.
Okay. So actually, let me grab something real quick,
Okay.
and I'm gonna show you, so we don't have to take the foot collars off.
Okay. I should have played the video too. What? I watched the video. This is one better than reading the booklet, I think.
You are correct. I read through it, but I need to practically use it to understand it better.
Yeah.
All right. So there's something that I have my clients do that the book doesn't tell you.
Okay. Feel it.
No. Well, you guys felt it, right? The last the console.
I have on their old collars. I haven't felt it on this one.
Okay, it's just a muscle contraction. If anything, it's gonna feel more dull than the one you had.
It was very sharp, yeah.
Yeah.
Like static.
Yes, this is it's literally just like a dull feeling. Now the higher you go, the sharper it does get.
Yeah, makes sense.
But in the beginning with lower levels, like it's just a dull feeling. I felt other brands as well. The really cheap brands tend to leave like a kind of residual feeling.
Yeah.
And they feel super weird when the actual sting comes through. With this, it shouldn't feel like that. There's no residual.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how high you are. Once the contraction is over, it's over. There's nothing like tingling or anything like that.
Okay, great.
Okay. So here, the book should tell you to feel it though.
Yeah.
We have 2 red dots, okay? Red dot and red dot. We're gonna take those together. That gives us a green light, right? Then we turn our system on. It's the blue button, right?
Okay.
LED screen lights up. What I'm gonna have you do is when you turn your system on, I'm gonna have you hit this pager function, just to vibrate, okay?
I turn it on when I put it on.
Yeah.
But
So you see how they're kind of moving around? Some dogs are fazed by it, others are not. Some dogs are super freaked out by the vibration.
Yeah.
she didn't like it.
Yeah. I just use this to test that it's on.
Yeah.
Okay? When we go to turn it off, you see that red dot again, and you see a red light there, but it's still on.
Yeah.
Red light, it's still on. Again, it's still on. So you have to hold it for a second. Now it's off. Okay?
Okay.
So what happens in the morning when people are just learning,
Yeah.
they walk their dog, they go like this, they put it
There
down,
you go. Yeah.
but it's still on, and then it's dying throughout the day. Okay?
Makes sense.
Whenever you're working with them, if for whatever reason, like maybe their typical number is like 20, 25, and you're at 65, 70, and you're like, are you even feeling this? Because you should see a contraction.
Yeah.
If you see a contraction, it's working. But if you're that high and you don't see a contraction, then I either have poor connection or something's up with the system.
Okay.
I'll grab the box, hit the vibrate, if it's vibrating, I know it's connection. If it's not vibrating, then I go, maybe it died, maybe it lost power.
Okay.
Or sometimes you may, this one has individual buttons. And yours, yep. So here, on other models, there's a switch to switch between two. Yours
Yeah,
is
I
fine.
watched a YouTube video and there was a,
Yeah, this
A
one has,
switch on that
this one has regular and mild on the back.
Correct. So for that, what that means is if we go here and I max this out at 127, right? 127. If I go on the back on regular, and I flip it to mild, L63.
okay,
Okay, so all it does is it cuts the power in half.
okay,
Okay, I've never had to use that function. Okay,
Okay.
I've always used regular.
okay.
Because in case of an emergency, the last thing I want to think about
Is-
is flipping a
yeah,
switch.
makes sense.
Okay, all it means is that your number is going to be lower. Okay. So the reason for the regular and mild is regular is kind of for the stubborn dog, and then mild would be for like the softer dog. But I go, well, then it just means the number is lower,
Yeah,
right? I don't have to really fiddle with it.
right.
So I just leave that alone. We have the two functions here. We have the nick and the continuous. Okay, so for the nick function, if I, so I can feel it there.
You're fine.
There it is, right? So that switch right there.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can catch it again. There it is. So that
Oh,
switch.
okay.
Right?
Oh, okay.
So that's involuntary.
Yeah,
This was 25 but 127. Okay.
Okay.
So if I hit continuous, the
okay.
whole time I'm feeling something, and the moment I let it go, it stops. Right? So there's nick and continuous. Nick,
Okay.
continuous.
So
You see?
continuous would be like an emergency situation then?
That's what I use it for the most part. 99% of the time, 99.9% of the time, it's always a nick function. Every now and then I get a dog that does better on continuous.
Okay.
And there's some trainers that do train with continuous from the start. So it's a simple concept. It's pressure on when we need the dog to do something, pressure off once they comply, right?
Okay.
So this is pressure.
Okay.
So when you're tapping that button, you're putting it on pressure.
Yeah.
And then once the dog complies, you would stop, and then you're not taking it off, right? So you could technically use continuous, but I just find it easier to use the nick, okay?
Okay.
So nick is what we're gonna be training with.
Great.
Because this one's got the double one's got a.
Yes, yours has a switch on it.
Yeah.
Has a switch on the top, so,
So you wanna keep it on N for nick.
yeah.
So then both side buttons become nick. Two front buttons are pager
Okay.
for their respective collars, okay?
Yep.
Nick pager, and the pager of course is just a test. It really doesn't have any use in training other than for testing. Or if I'm working with a deaf dog, which I currently am working with a deaf dog.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So that, because if we can't, so most people, when they apply this stuff, they go no, tone, vibrate,
Yeah,
tone, vibrate,
which is what
remote.
we were doing, yeah.
Correct. So you're training this delay, right? I don't want to have a delay.
Okay.
So it's just word and stim.
Okay.
Okay, so the dog, so technically the sit is like a warning. Put your butt down or get tapped, right?
Yeah.
So the dog goes, all right, well, let's just comply because I don't want to get tapped because there is no
No,
delay.
1, 2, 3, yeah.
Correct, right? So we want to break that habit. So that's just something when you guys get home and stuff to fiddle with your collar
Okay.
with that vibration function. And out of these two, who's had the least amount of training? Okay.
Lucille has had some training when she was a puppy, and I worked at a facility that also did training. Rue has had nothing.
Okay, so we're gonna start with Rue.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah, do it. I'll go first.
we'll start with Rue. We can remove. Let's see if she's
harness.
on the double leash here. So what we'll do is just
Yeah, she's a
take
puller.
this, and we're going to put it here,
Okay.
and then do the same thing for the other one. Okay, there we go. Who's remote? Thank you. And go ahead and have a seat.
Okay.
All right, so the first thing we want to do is find Rue's perception level, okay? Perception level means what they respond to, but just because you see a contraction doesn't mean that's the perception level, okay? Because you'll see the muscle moving and the dog's just like gone, okay? So it's contraction means you have connection, and then you want to see response, okay? And I like to, when I start training from the beginning, I want to have more of an exaggerated response than just a real subtle one.
Okay.
So most trainers will say, you know, tap the collar and the dog is going like this, like kind of like when you hit the vibrate function,
Where's it coming from?
like that, right? Like what's this happen? That's just vibrate, right?
Yeah.
I want that plus a little more because I want it to be concerning.
Okay.
You want concern because it makes it important. Okay, now we don't need her to scream and yell, but we do want her to think like, I want to get this, I want this to stop as quickly as possible.
Right.
So I'm gonna figure it out as fast as possible, okay? So I'm at 10 here. When you hear me saying tap, I'm pressing the button. So if I
Okay.
say tap, 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 or tap, 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 that would be my rhythm, okay?
Okay.
So I'm at 10, tap, 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 tap. So a little subtle response there.
Okay.
I'll go to 15.
She just got all her vaccines and she didn't feel them. She's got a huge pain threshold.
It can be that or this. Because what happens is when the brain's so spazzy, it's stuck on the environment that they're not actually understanding what's going on personally.
Okay.
Okay, so like when I work with dogs for the first time outside, it's usually super high the first day because the dog's so overstimulated by everything in the environment
Yeah.
that it's not perceiving this thing.
Okay.
Okay, so that can be part of it. Or
If
just
it's
high.
any dog is brain spazzy, it's real.
Or it can also be threshold. Okay, so 15. Tap, 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 tap. So I can see she feels it.
Yeah.
18. Tap, 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 tap. 21. Tap, tap. Hold. Tap. See how big of a movement that was, right?
That's her.
Yeah, so 15 got me a lot of this, right?
Uh-huh.
But it took a lot of taps.
Yeah.
On 21, I got,
Yeah, what was that?
what was that? And she moved all the way to me, right? So I'm gonna start at 21.
Okay.
So what we're gonna do here is, they have dog beds?
We actually just got one like this.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Lucille, at her old training facility, she knew place.
Okay.
She's very good at it.
Excellent. So, does she have remote layered over it or no?
Have a what?
Remote, this layered over the place command?
No.
Okay, so
They
we're
did
gonna take care
prong,
of
they
that.
did prong collars there.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, when they did prong collar,
Yeah.
how did they teach it?
I don't think they knew what they were doing.
Sure.
Yeah, they would just yank the shit out of the dog's neck with the prong collar on. And it was really loose.
Okay.
Which I think it's supposed to be.
It's supposed to be snug.
Yeah, it was
should
super
be-
loose.
Okay, yeah, so that's not good.
No.
So, dogs aren't, like our relationship with dogs isn't supposed to be how it is.
Right,
We used to like go hunt together,
Right.
right? Some of us still go hunting with our dogs.
right.
But they weren't really meant to be, how do you say, kept in a kennel,
Yeah.
kept in a home, companionship, like it was like a symbiotic relationship, right? That they're not born thinking they're gonna teach me how to like go to place and put this thing in my neck that moves my muscles and like I'm gonna learn what to do. Like this is all stuff that we've created
Yeah,
to have better control over them.
Right.
Okay, so it would be unfair for me to say place and with the prong yank the crap out of a dog,
Yeah.
right? Because they don't have a concept of what place is,
right.
right? And they don't even understand it by definition. Because a lot of people will say like, my dog knows place. I'm like, your dog doesn't know anything. Your dog has associations.
Yeah,
Your dog has associated when you say place. It means to go here.
yeah.
But by definition, they don't know if they look it up.
You're right.
In the training dictionary, place means go to this bed and stay there for X period of time, right?
Right.
That's human stuff.
Yep.
So here, I want to teach them the concept of pressure, okay? So I'm not going to say any words here. I just want them to start understanding how pressure turns on and how pressure turns off, okay? So at 21, I'm going to tap, 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 tap,
Good girl, Rue.
tap, 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 tap. Wait a second. Tap, 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 tap. Tap, 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 tap. Tap, 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 tap. 24, tap, tap, tap. Okay, 24.
Okay.
Right, so 21 was enough to get her motivated.
Yeah.
She did a few, and then what I'm looking for is once a dog starts to understand the concept, it's very quick. It's people that take longer, okay?
Yeah.
Is once I could see you're already associating tap means to go here, I bumped it to 24 because I wanted to take less taps,
Okay.
okay? So I gave no cues other than a little bit of directional pressure with the leash. 21, a motivating number. She kind of was unsure. She walks on this object. It stopped. She initially just walked right over it.
Yeah.
I kicked it again automatically, let her back, and I did maybe I think 3 to 4 reps before she started to go, oh, this right now, tap, tap. This right now is bugging me, but when I go here, it goes away,
Yeah.
right? So, with no words, tap, 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 tap. I'm conditioning her what this is,
Yeah.
okay? Everybody wants to jump to the place, like name it already, right? I go, I'm not gonna name it until she goes straight there, because
Yeah.
she's still in association, okay?
Yeah. Okay.
Once a dog associates something well enough, it shouldn't take a whole lot of work,
Okay.
okay? It should be literally tap, boom, okay? Then I go, great, you have a good association, place. Because if I title it now, place would be delayed, because she's still taking 2 to 3 seconds to actually go there.
Okay.
I want it to be placed from as quickly as possible, okay? So here, when it comes to the tap, 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 tap. When it comes to the place command, there's also an implied stay, okay? Place means go to this object and don't move. I don't care if you stand, sit, lay down. She could even play with a toy. She could even play with another dog if it was big enough.
Yeah.
She just cannot step off of the object itself.
Okay.
I'm already instilling that right now.
And this is good for like when people are coming in through the door.
I use it for when people are over, coming into the door. If they're getting a little rowdy, this is what we use. So with dog behavior, right, because I know we have the dog fights, right?
Right.
Is we have preventative and interventive.
Okay.
Prevention is always obviously the safest because we're preventing anything from happening.
Yeah.
But you're not always going to be able to prevent. Tap, tap, tap. And that's where intervention comes into play.
Okay.
Okay? So like for instance, if I have a dog that's dog reactive and lunges and barks,
Yeah.
we teach it heel, because the heel is the reference point, so the dog ideally doesn't become reactive.
Okay.
Because the dog's so focused on the handler. If the dog's done it for too long, the behavior itself is important enough so the dog will like, screw you, you're weeding something, just do this. Or if it's overwhelming for them because of stress, obedience means nothing, right? Then the dog becomes reactive, and I go, okay, we've already done the foundation. You're still doing the behavior, now we're gonna apply consequence for the behavior itself. So we're gonna intervene as it's happening, right? So that's the difference between the two.
Okay.
This exercise, few things. Most people, when they leave their dogs in the home, it's just free range, right? You casa, su casa. And like the dog will play whenever they want, they'll get the zoomies and everybody thinks it's cute until there's issues,
Yeah.
right? Your dog becomes what you allow them to practice. Okay, so if it's constant, like I can get up and bark out the window and like just zoom around the house and then like start playing
That's how
whenever
it
I
is
want.
right now. Yeah.
Pick up a ball and you'll throw it for me, right? You're teaching them that that's okay. So dogs don't have self-regulation like a human can. Like I can tell myself I'm gonna have dessert, I'm only gonna have 3 Oreos. And then do that, right? A dog won't. A the dog is like, I'm only gonna run around for 15 minutes, and then I'll stop and behave myself. I'll be calm, right? Because I got my 15 minutes. That's not dog. So if it's a lot of free range stuff, you get that kind of personality, okay? If you have them practice more structure, calmness, discipline, you get a more structured, calm dog, okay? So here, this gives us something, because especially for Ruth,
Yes.
like all that whining and stuff is two things. She wants to be with you, and her brain wants to move, okay? This is her brain. It wants you to do all this stuff. And right now, her brain is contained. Because I've told her, without words, when you go here, you know, when this kicks in, go here. When you try to come off prematurely, this kicks in. So now she has to start controlling that impulsiveness of like, I want to just like do this, right? It causes anxiety.
Yeah.
Because it's not, the dog's under conflict. Because she's going, I really want to step off of this, but if I know if I do, there's this thing that's going to happen that I don't like.
Yeah.
Okay? So it has to come out somehow.
Yeah.
So I ignored all the pining, right? And now she's starting to settle.
Yeah.
And you can hear little tiny whines, right? Because she's still kind of just processing. As soon as I move with her again, it's going to reset her brain, and then it's dialing it back down again. So it's going to be this constant kind of fluctuation of her state of arousal.
Yeah.
So eventually she does this so much that it's just like, oh, okay, I just go to place and I just relax.
So when we're doing that, we shouldn't like acknowledge her or look at her.
You can.
Okay.
So, for a human, you know, like you could just go up to your dogs, right, and just stop and walk away, on and off.
Yeah.
Dogs, right? You turn them on, and then you leave, and they follow you like, hey, where's the rest of it? Like, I want more, right? Is you want to be able to have an on switch and have an off switch. Okay. Everybody can flip the on switch. Anybody. You don't have to be a dog trainer to do that.
Yeah.
Not everybody can flip the off switch.
She's very needy, like she wants to be.
Right, on top of you, yeah. And it's not healthy.
No.
You know, when it comes to behavior, like, again, people, how they perceive things, or like they like the companionship, they feel like the dog loves them, or makes them feel like wanted, you know, any number of reasons.
Yeah.
But for the dog, it's unhealthy, right?
Okay.
Because it shows ownership, technically, okay? So like, if I have a friend that's a woman, I don't just go and like sit down next to them and wrap my arm around them, which is my friend. Right? That would, if someone saw that, they would assume, oh, you must be a couple.
Okay.
You see that?
Yeah.
So it shows ownership. Not that the person owns the
Right.
right.
I know what you're saying.
Nowadays, you gotta be politically correct, right? So same thing for the dog. A dog will come and like just sit on your feet, right? And the person will go, oh, they love me. I'm like, no, the dog's saying mine. That's dog. Okay? So in our world, we purchase things and we earn things, right? Before it's given to us. For dogs, they just take. They're primal. Okay? So if a dog just comes and sits on my foot, I move him away. You're not claiming me. Right? But when this goes unaddressed, it's a dog establishing something. So if it becomes, well, I can just take ownership over you, ownership over this, then I can set boundaries here, and I can decide I want to do this, and I can decide you don't play like that. It becomes more and more power, right? And then if we have conflicting personalities and they disagree over something, now you're gonna have a fight, right? That's why I tell everybody, your dogs have no rights, they have privileges, and everything's established to me. Coming out the kennel, everybody thinks like has to happen. I'm like, no, it doesn't. Because if the dog feels like it has to happen, you're gonna create separation anxiety, okay? So if you take a human and lock them up in the room with no windows, you're gonna freak out. You're kidnapped, right? You have the right to be free. Technically, it's the same thing for a dog. When you put them in a kennel and you close it, like they're supposed to be free. They're not supposed to be kenneled. But in order to coexist with humans, it's a part of the process because they'll destroy things. Right? But in their world, it wouldn't matter. So it's not just the behavior and the training stuff, it's understanding primal thinking. Because when you understand primal thinking, it's like, oh, this is super simple. It's very black and white. Humans have created this huge gray area that dogs get lost in, and unfortunately leads to fights, reactivity, separation anxiety, aggression, things like that. So here, I've been yapping my mouth for about 5 minutes, and Rue's just been sitting there, right? And there's no tension here. I'm not forcing her here, right? She's actually thinking this is her decision. Okay, this is manipulation. Okay, which would be not good when applied to a human.
Right.
But we're not dealing with the human, of course, we're dealing with the dog. And again, we're trying to push for that coexistence. Is the reason why I love remote collars so much is it's the only tool that can make a dog think they're doing something.
Okay.
Okay, so like if I have a dog that's scared of people, I can use this tool to get them to like people because they think they're overcoming their fear and going to the person. But it's really
Great for
me
her, yeah.
manipulating. Yes, so you can open her up through this tool.
Okay.
So questions so far?
Do you have any?
No,
I think I'm following pretty good.
Okay, so I'm gonna do a few more reps with her,
Okay.
and then I'll probably stop and talk for a bit, and then I'll have you work with her, okay?
Okay.
So the word let's see what happens here. Do you have a release command for Rue? I'm not for Rue, for Lucille, is it?
It's usually
Lucille.
okay.
Okay, so that's a release word. So even though we're not putting a word on the command, we will put a word on the release. Okay.
Okay.
So Rue, okay. So okay means of course you're free. So think about the commands as work. You're clocking your dog in.
Okay.
And then think of okay as you're clocking your dog out.
All right.
So if I say place, it's or issue the place with pressure, it's Rue's job to go there and stay there until I give her permission to be free again.
Okay.
Tip, 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 good. Tip, tip, good. Tip, tip, good. Tip, 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 good. See how there's no tension on the leash now?
Yeah.
It's all this.
Okay.
Okay? So she's already associating that this means go to the safe spot. Okay? When I train, this is an off-leash training tool. Okay? And from the get-go, I'm always training dogs to be off-leash.
Okay.
And the way we do that is by limiting how much we use this. Okay? We tend to want to give a lot of physical guidance, and we're practically doing the work, and with a little bit of this. But that becomes what you're training. I pull you this much in order for you to do this. I'm going to pull you just this much, and this is going to make you make the decision to go there. So I can start weaning away this kind of a tool immediately and associate everything to the pressure itself. Okay. The other reason why I do this is we tend to be our first thing is always restricting or restraining. We pull back, we'll grab collars, we'll pick up dogs, right? We physically try to control situations when you want to mentally control the situation. Okay. So if the owner is using a lot of leash, it's going to counter this, and they're going to be kind of like in this constant feedback loop of making progress and not making progress. Okay, and then kind of going back because of the tension. Dogs have something called opposition reflex. Have we heard of this?
No.
Do you have any gamble on what it means?
They
Like what?
react to an opposing force?
Yes,
Okay.
they go against it.
Okay.
Okay, so if you pull back, they pull forward. You pull
Like
forward,
yeah.
they pull back. Yeah, you pull left, they pull right. You pull right, they pull left. They want to go opposite the tension, right? It's a normal response. Humans do it too, right? If you hold someone back and they want to go against it, right? So opposition reflex. What we're doing here is actually countering and rewiring her. Okay, so when I was putting tension on her, she was going, I don't want to walk there, and I had the right number. This was telling her, you don't want to resist tension. You want to go with tension. Tension is guiding you into figuring out how this stops. Okay? So it becomes, again, a line of communication. That's how I want the dog to understand this. This is communication. Do this or don't do that. Okay? It can also be absolutely used as a punisher. But if the dog doesn't have a concept of like what to do or not to do, it just becomes more problematic.
Yeah.
This is an aversive, right? A dog won't like this ever, but this is what makes this effective, right? Because it's, hey, you do this or aversive. You don't do that or aversive, right? Just like for humans, we get tickets, parking tickets, we go to jail for months, blah, blah, blah. There's a death penalty. Like there's escalating degrees of aversives to keep people in check, right? It's the same thing. So here, that's why I want it to be just high enough that it's really motivating her to go like, I want to get this done as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Because the more I use this now, the appropriate number, the less I have to use it in the future.
Yeah.
Okay? Okay. Got a girl. Good. Tip. 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 Good.
Okay, she knows, yeah.
So like I'm walking around, so that, you know, she'll try to pop off. Tap, 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 tap. Good. So I'm just keeping this slack because I don't want any tension, like pulling this way would confuse her. Because it's supposed to be directional, right?
Right.
So then she thinks, oh, it actually needs to come on. Now if I go, okay, and I then apply tension, it's different.
Right.
Because okay means your job is done. So if she doesn't want to move, then I would apply directional tension and not remote to tell her, yes, you can now come off, okay? Tap, 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 good. So 28, I might bump it a little bit, let's try 32. Good, if I come in, and a girl, and a girl. Good.
She's thinking
I
about it.
know. And all this is fine.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. So if I came in, and I, hey, Will, hi, how you doing? And a girl, yeah. And I step away, the rules should still be in effect.
Yeah.
You don't move, right? And it has to be meaningful. Yep. Set the escalator a little bit. It has to be meaningful. So had I been using, like, let's say 14, the real subtle number, it would still be like 5 to 10 taps, and then her making mistakes. And days, a long time of just rehearsing,
Yeah.
before the concept sinks in. Because yes, it's an aversive, but it's not enough to get the dog to problem solve fast, right? Now, I'm not saying that method is wrong, but I understand I'm dealing with dog owners.
Yeah.
You have your social lives, you have your work lives, there's the stress of life that we need as quick as possible,
Yeah.
in the most humane way possible of getting the control, right? So it's as low as possible, but as high as needed is how I operate.
Okay.
Okay, so right now I'm at 32, and this number may change in the home.
Okay.
Okay, I give you numbers as a reference point, and I point out things so that you learn to recognize them, because your number in the home could be 20,
Okay.
and that could be your magic number, right? We can come by and go, hey, Will, how you doing? You're such a pretty girl, right? And then walk away, and she'll still hold it,
Yeah.
okay? So it's recognizing when the dog is having a sense of urgency.
Yeah.
And then also, you know, what the number tip, there we go. What number is actually going to register,
Yeah.
okay? Questions so far?
So is the goal eventually their brain is gonna be rewired, we don't need the collar on 24/7?
So think of the collar as on an as-needed basis.
Okay.
Every household is different,
Okay.
okay?
Are they still gonna listen to the commands when the collar is off, or is that gonna take some work?
Yes and no,
Okay.
okay? In an unstimulating environment, your dogs, depending on how much work you put into it, because that's a huge variable,
Yeah.
is, like my guys, if I took them out off leash, they're about 80% compliant, I would say, 70 to 80%,
Okay.
okay? What that means is when I walk with them in a heel, they're not super tight. And if they're out off leash and they're like running around sniffing, and if I call them, there might be a tiny bit of a delay, but then there'll be the return,
Right.
okay? Because, how do I explain this? Whether you do positive or negative training, if you remove the motivator, performance always dips.
Okay. So
Okay.
like treats, are you saying?
Treats,
Okay.
yeah, or promote or problem.
Okay.
Because the dog goes, oh, you don't have anything? How should I
Yeah.
do it, right?
That's Bruce.
Oh, you don't have the collar on me? Why should I do it?
Right.
Okay. So in the home, if you're drilling this out, right? Over time, you will most likely see less and less of this.
Okay.
The times that you would most likely need it are when you have guests come over, or when you're outside for a walk. In my book, whenever a dog is outside, I have these on.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't account for life. Firework, car backfires, you know, car accident, something happens,
Yep.
spooks the dog goes, right? I want to know I have the control.
Yeah.
But I'm using it very rarely.
Mhm.
Okay, most people think that when you're using this, you're always tapping the dog.
Mhm.
If you're always tapping the dog over the, like, and it's been a year,
Mhm.
you're doing something wrong or you're taught wrong. Okay, I tap this button with my guys like once a month.
Okay.
You know, like a squirrel just shoots by.
Yeah.
No, you're not chasing the squirrel,
Mhm.
right? I'm wandering and they get a little too caught up in the scent. You're too far. Come in closer.
Yeah.
Right? They're dogs.
Right.
Like even again, as humans, we have cops, prisons, judges, and jails
Yeah.
to keep people in check. If we didn't have those aversives,
Yeah.
people, some people would be taking advantage. And I always like to like use the Ferguson
Mhm.
as an example. When there was the absence of authority, people were looting, people were rioting, they were burning places down.
Yeah.
Then once authority came back in, peace comes back
Yeah.
to a degree,
Mhm.
right? So same thing for the dog.
Mhm.
So every household is different. There's some dogs that I come in where I tell them anytime there's another living thing around that's not you,
Mhm.
your dog's collar on, because they're that bad.
Okay.
But the dog's cool with the collar on.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
same thing with these guys. If you notice, like maybe only Rue, because I think when we had the consultation, I said she was actually the one instigating everything,
Yes.
and she was the one trying to control everything, which
Yeah.
was leading to the fights, right?
Yep.
Because of her energy.
Yep.
You saw her energy as happy-go-lucky.
Mhm.
Ooh, it's so positive, right? They see it as get that out of here,
Yeah.
right? Like be chill, like it's not that time right now, right?
Mhm.
That's structure, and
Yeah.
dog structure is very cut and dry. It's very black and white.
Yeah.
If there's 10 calm dogs and one dog comes in that's high energy
Yeah.
or unstable, they target it, they get rid of it.
Yep. That like immediately, if Rue does anything on a walk that Lucille thinks she shouldn't do, Lucille is there.
Yeah. So she's regulating. The problem is, if you have a dog, there are two personality types that are same level, like they're both like ranked, like 6 ranks,
Mhm.
they're equal, they're gonna go into conflict.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you don't tell me what to do because we're equal. Like, I don't tell my friends what to do.
Yeah.
We're like equals,
Yeah.
right? But I can tell employees what to do
Right.
because I pay their I write their checks, right?
Right.
Or when I was younger and my brothers were younger,
Mhm.
you know, I could tell them what to do to some degree,
Right.
but not to the degree that my mom could.
Right.
And my mom could always overwrite me. That's
Right.
hierarchy,
Okay.
right?
You
Same
think
thing-
they're at a similar level then?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think her excited energy draws her in. She wants to correct, but then there's a retaliation because they're the
They
same.
are friends, like they,
Oh, yeah.
they love each other.
But it's just like with people.
Yeah.
Like, we go into conflict,
Right.
but we don't settle conflict with biting.
Right, they do.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Because I think it's funny because a lot of people are like, Jesse, my dog's friendly 99.9% of the time, but it's that 0.01%. I'm like, yeah, humans get angry too.
Yeah.
Like we have fights with our brothers, our sisters, our moms, our dads, you know, our cousins, our employers, our fellow employees, you know, things like that. It's just we resolve things through language for
Right.
the most part.
Okay.
Okay? Does all make sense?
That does make sense. That makes a
So-
lot of sense.
I'm gonna hand you over to Rue, okay? She may try to sneak off here. Yep, come over. And it's that bumpy one there,
Okay.
okay? And when I tell you to tap, you would of course press the button.
Okay.
When you feel like you should tap, you just press the button. And I'm gonna have you, for the sake of us, me and CJ, so that we know what you're doing, to say tap as well.
Okay.
So what I like here is, of course, Rue got energized, but she held the position, right? Most dogs would anticipate, oh, whenever you grab the leash, it's freedom.
Yeah.
And they just hop off, right? So I'm gonna have you keep her there, you're not gonna say anything, and I'm gonna have you just walk around the placemat here. And keep that arm relaxed. There you go. Just so fine. We can try going the other way. And try picking up your speed a little bit. Tap.
Tap, tap.
Right there. And then, yep. Back the other way. Good. Go ahead and slow to stop. Good. And then you're gonna just take a step back, keeping that leash slack. Okay? And relax. There you go. Good. So, when you're walking slow, no big deal.
Yeah.
When you picked up the pace,
She is.
she goes, right? Because she's already got some degree of momentum in her brain. That's like that tail moving. When people see this, they usually think happy, right? I'm thinking, this is a dog that is at, I call it agitation.
Okay.
Agitation doesn't mean anything aggressive. Agitation simply means there's something on the brain and it's bothering it,
Okay.
right? In this case, it's her having to sit still.
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
Yeah.
You really don't want to sit still, okay? When you moved in, there was some excitement in the tail because it was an association with you, but once you resolve that with the taps and settle her down, then it became more like conflicted. And if you look at her mouth here, let's see if she does it again. The way she's holding her mouth is stressed.
Okay.
Stress is good.
Okay.
We look at it as bad, okay? Stress is a part of life. There is no avoiding it. So think about when she gets high energy, she goes under stress. And what she does as a stress response, let me get rid of the stressor.
Okay.
Fight.
Okay.
You see that?
Yeah.
Okay. So here, the stressor is the remote collar.
Yeah.
When you're putting that pressure on, it's uncomfortable. She doesn't like it. She's being told what to do, and she's being made to keep with the behavior. It causes stress because she's used to doing whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is normal in the beginning, and I want to see stress because it means something.
Yeah.
Okay, if it doesn't mean anything, the dog's gonna take to it super easy. That's why treats are so easy.
Yeah.
It's stress free. Oh, I do this. You give me a treat. If I don't do it, there's no consequence. Great. Yeah, anybody will do that, right?
Yeah.
But without that consequence, it will mean nothing,
Okay.
right? So this is what's gonna essentially empower what you say over the course of time, is because of that.
Okay.
That tool. So if this, I don't really do tone of voice, like I don't do no or anything like that.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah,
I just
that was
go
big at the place where I worked, was like tone and body language was really big.
body language, yes. Tone, no.
Okay.
The reason why I don't do tone is because it's not a dog thing.
Yeah.
It's a primate thing.
Oh.
It's monkeys. Monkeys get louder as they get more frustrated. Humans get louder as we get more frustrated.
Yeah.
Okay? So the tone thing, we recognize tone. It's not that they can't. It's that the human will go no, 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 right? That's what happens. And you're putting energy into the dog. Okay? Have you ever gotten in a conflict with like a customer? Ever? And one of the things they, I don't know if they taught you guys or like just naturally, they'll tell you not like to just always be calm.
Yeah.
And
It frustrates them more.
Yes, but eventually the frustration dips
Yeah.
and they settle, you know, for the most part.
Yeah.
So, because you can influence, right? Same thing for the dog. If I'm just giving neutral energy and that's doing all my yelling for me,
Okay.
right? I'm not investing energy.
Okay.
This is why people will tell me, Jesse, I tell my dog no, and they snap at me or they growl at me. And I'll tell them, are you saying it 20 times? Yes. Are you getting louder? Yes. That's why. Because you're feeding negative energy, and the dog goes, I don't like this. You're getting too much. So now I'm going to correct you to keep you chill. Okay? Same thing for humans. If we get in an argument and someone loses their shit, it's instability. And that's when we come back and we go, sorry, I didn't mean to say that. I don't really mean it. I was just angry. Oh, I didn't mean to break X thing. I was just really angry. We do irrational things in emotional states. Getting louder is that emotional state.
Okay.
Dogs understand this. They see unstable energy, right? So you guys watch Cesar Millan, did I ask you about this already?
Yeah.
Yeah, he talks about humans are the only people that follow unstable energies, right? Which is true. Whereas dogs don't.
Right.
So when a person's getting really frustrated and they're yelling at their dog, you're unstable. Dog goes, you don't know what you're doing. I didn't say a thing and I got what I wanted through a tool
Right.
with Rue here,
Okay.
right? And you see how she's starting
But
to,
this is not Rue. Like,
Calm it
Rue
down.
doesn't do this. Yeah.
and you're gonna have fluctuations in the beginning, right? Because she was stressed, then she calmed.
Yeah.
And then she stressed again, and she gets stressed out more, and then she calmed.
Yeah.
But what happens is with this wave, it starts to become more calm than stressed,
Okay.
okay, or overstimulated. Now, this isn't gonna kill Rue's personality,
Right.
okay? But she's just gonna learn that there is an alternate mind state that she can go into, which is just chill,
Right.
okay? So this isn't bad. When people see this, they usually think, oh, my dog's sad or depressed, because they're so used to seeing the happy, wagging, excited dog, right?
Yeah.
But being in that state for too long is unhealthy.
Okay.
Okay, because we see it as happiness. It's excitement.
Yeah.
It's overstimulation. What happens is we feed it and we pet it and we give treats to it and we keep bringing it back because we like how it makes us feel because our dog is happy and wiggly. But their brain up here is stuck in this cycle.
Okay.
So I'll get dogs
I never thought of that being stressful for her.
Yeah, I mean for humans, like if someone were to be like hopped up, you know, like it's not healthy. Like for the most part, we dial down, and something happens, we get happy, and then we dial down.
Yeah.
Then we get sad, then we get back up, right? For dogs, they don't have self-regulation unless you teach them. Okay, that's why they get stuck, and they get stuck. I mean, it just goes from it goes 1 to 4 to 7 to 10 to 11 to 12 to 13. You know, like it's just this overabundance of stimulation, which leads to either bad decisions, or they're already at that edge that if something happens that's a stressor, they just respond and they go into reactivity or they go into aggression, and it's all because of all the precursor stuff.
Okay.
So everybody focuses on the big thing.
Yeah.
My dogs are fighting. Let's address them when they're fighting. And I go, no. The fighting is the outcome of a lack of structure.
Okay.
No rules, no boundaries, no expectations, no standards. That the dogs will either solve it themselves to establish structure, or it'll just be this constant cycle.
Yeah.
And you'll never get anywhere. Okay? A passive dog is a thinking dog. Okay? An excited dog is a reactive dog. Something happens, they just do it.
Yeah.
Rue doesn't wake up thinking, I am going to harass and Lucille and bug her with my excited energy.
Yeah.
She doesn't think that.
Yeah.
Okay, she just wakes up and takes it day by day. And maybe that day she decides to get overstimulated, zoom around, and Lucille decides, no, you're not going to do that.
Yeah.
Okay? Questions so far?
I had one. No, I forgot. But yeah, no. That really makes a lot of sense. With Lucille, I feel like she's. Oh, what I was going to ask is, for her, is CBD ever? Do we even need something like that for like?
Give it to her.
Nope.
Tap.
Tap.
And relax. Tap again.
Tap. Tap.
Tap.
Tap.
1 second.
Tap.
1 sec. One more. Tap.
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 Almost. Tap.
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 And this is the pain
Tap.
and frustration. Tap. Yeah.
Tap. Yeah, 'cause I feel guilty doing
Okay. Tap.
Tap.
I'm trying to create something here. Tap.
Right. Tap.
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 Go down to like 26 here. Tap.
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 And hold. Wait a sec. Wait a sec. Tap.
Tap.
Wait. Tap again.
Tap.
Now relax. There.
Okay.
So that was a tangent. You probably had a dog get dropped off, so she heard that.
Yeah.
I don't care that she barked at the door. What I wanted you to see is how to take an overstimulated dog
Bring her down.
and bring her back down again.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
The reason why she was confused is right now, remote has meant to go here. That's a safe place. When you're here, there's no tapping. But now she's on the safe place, and there's tapping,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So we're having two different conversations right now. One conversation is you go here.
Yeah.
The other conversation is quiet down. Okay? So we switched. What I liked is that Rue didn't jump off.
Okay.
Most dogs would think, oh crap, this is wrong, and they jump off.
Okay.
Okay? I would keep the pressure on until the dog goes back on and goes, that's weird.
Yeah.
I got tapped on the placemat, but then when I jumped off, the tapping kept happening, and I
Right.
jumped back on and it stopped.
Yeah.
So a dog can learn to distinguish what the tap is trying to address
Okay.
by what's going on.
Right.
Yes, there's confusion in the beginning, but all the dogs that I work with do learn. So I like that she didn't hop off.
Yeah.
And then we were at 32, and the whining and the increase in energy was frustration, because she's like, why is the tapping happening? I'm on my safe place, right? So then I go dial it down, because I can see she's getting more frustrated. And then once we went to 26, only 6 levels lower,
Mhm.
she started to shift, and I was putting more space between the taps.
Yeah.
Because when she's up here,
Mhm.
I might need more to bring her down here,
Mhm.
and then it's very subtle
Okay.
to get that de-escalation
Right.
back to this
Right
again.
where we are, yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
And this is, it's simple, but it's complex.
Mhm.
Okay? Once you understand how to read in the sensitivity of this,
Yeah.
it's really intuitive. Okay? This is why I go to the remote
Mhm.
more and the words less, because words won't achieve anything.
Mhm.
You know, even if you say calm down, Rue, dogs still bark. I hear like a lot of people that quiet dog,
Mhm.
dogs still bark. And like just use the aversive. Okay? Let me see here. Up, 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 up. And then you said you feel guilty.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I did too. I was like,
Yeah.
I was like watching it, like,
You want to get over that.
Okay.
Okay? I appreciate it because obviously you care for your dogs.
Right.
Right?
Mhm.
But you have to think the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Dogs are super black and white.
Mhm.
I've come into homes with dead dogs.
Yeah.
Because one dog did something the other disagreed with.
Mhm.
And they go, all right, I'll take you out.
Yeah.
They don't feel guilty about it.
Mhm.
You know, that's their structure.
Right.
Obviously, I don't kill dogs because then I wouldn't be here.
Right.
But you have to have that mentality of like, no, I disagree with that right now.
Mhm.
Okay? Whether or not they understand it. Unfortunately, I can't tell Rue, I'm gonna tap you right now
Mhm.
until you calm down.
Right.
Right? Like you could to a child. Like my mom could tell me, Jesse, do the dishes, or I'm gonna spank you 20 times.
Yeah.
And I could do the math. 20 is a lot of spankings.
Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
she does it, right? You
Yeah.
have to teach her in the moment.
Mhm.
So don't feel guilty.
Okay.
Okay? Because if there was a better way, trust me, I would be doing it.
Right.
Okay?
Mhm.
This makes it the easiest, most effective, and efficient way to get things done. And it's not because I'm lazy.
Right.
It's because you're not dog trainers.
Yeah.
Okay?
Mhm.
Because that's the most common argument against people like myself is you use e-collars, you're cruel,
Mhm.
you're punishing dogs, this and that. And if you look at this,
Yeah. You're talking to them.
exactly.
Yeah.
We're essentially biting her like another dog would
Like
bite her.
Lucille tries to do to her.
Yes.
Okay. Mhm.
But at the press of a button.
Yeah.
Okay?
Mhm.
So, and then they have varying degrees of bites. A little nip, hair bite, blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
I have varying degrees of bites from 0 to 127.
Right.
So I can really fine tune it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Mhm.
It's all making sense here.
Mhm.
Cool. I'm going to go ahead and have you just praise Rue here.
Good girl. You are doing so good. I'm so proud of you. Yes.
And then you'll step away. She's supposed to stay. Good. And go ahead and walk around again.
It's still at 26, is that good?
That's fine.
Okay.
Very good. I'm going to hold for a sec. And then, so whenever you're going to release Rue,
Mhm.
I want you to do it once you're paused.
Okay.
Don't do it as you're moving.
Mhm.
Okay, so you're gonna pause for a second, wait, and then you're gonna issue the word okay. The reason why you don't wanna do it while you're moving is because you're trying to teach her that you're not a part of the picture. And what you're doing doesn't matter in conjunction to her,
Mhm.
right? But if you tell her okay while you're moving, she's gonna anticipate while you're moving at some point, you're gonna release her again. So then you start getting a dog that prematurely releases.
Mhm.
So I want to create the delay, wait a second, or longer. Okay, so it's a very clear cut and dry. We went from holding, okay, to free.
Mhm.
Okay, so it makes it really clear for her. And then issue your word okay,
Okay.
and you'll step away.
Okay.
Pull, pull.
It's okay.
No tapping, just pull. Pull, 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 pull. There we go.
Good
And go ahead and walk
girl.
around.
Good girl, you did it.
And I'm gonna explain why she did that in a moment.
Yeah. Good girl.
long lava.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that might come out. Go ahead and pause there. And tap, 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 tap. And a little bit of directional pressure towards the, tap, tap,
Tap.
that's right there, and relax. Good, and move around. Good, go and go opposite way. Go ahead and hold. And release.
Okay.
We're gonna do a couple more, and then we're gonna switch to Lucille, and then work with you, CJ.
Okay. Just go.
Good girl.
Go ahead and pause there. And when you're ready,
Tap. 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 Tap.
Very good.
Good girl.
And I'm gonna have you do 3 more reps just like that on your own, okay?
Okay. Should I keep her on the bed or can I release her?
Oh, you're doing all, yeah, you
Oh.
make the decision when she's free and stuff, and I'm
Okay.
gonna have you keep your leash relaxed.
Okay.
Let
I'm
go
so
of-
used to like,
Yeah, there you go, like that. Now, what I will show you is this. When you hold the leash, I'm gonna have you get used to holding it like this,
oh, okay.
The reason we do this is it acts as a lock, should the dog impulsively lunge.
Okay, I've always been putting my wrist through it.
Yeah, what happens with this here is this can happen, right? Or
It happened
you
this
did-
morning when we were walking off, yeah.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
or if people do this,
Mhm.
like that will happen, right?
Mhm.
So this locks your leash.
Okay.
And if your dog pulls the leash through your thumb, then you have a bigger problem. Like the thumb.
Okay. Tap, 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 tap.
Very good.
girl.
Go ahead and bump it to like 30.
Okay,
Good. Pull, pull, pull,
okay,
pull, pull.
okay.
Very good. Good.
Good girl. Tap, 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 tap.
Good. We'll do one more after this.
Okay, okay.
Good.
Tap, tap, tap.
Good.
Good girl, Rue.
You want to relax for a second. Very good. So all those were good. On the first one, when you released her, you did rush into it.
Okay.
Okay, so what that looks like is you're moving around and you kind of slow stop. Okay, kind of like a rolling stop over
Yeah.
a stop sign.
Yeah.
That's what you did.
Okay.
And you want to make it very clear. You stop for a second. You choose whatever length of time. Okay. Right. We don't ever want to stop and release because then every time you stop, your dog's going to assume it's going to be an immediate release, and then every time you stop, they just hop off. Okay. So that's why I always do varying degrees of waiting. So it's very clear to them you're waiting for this cue. Her not wanting to come off of the bed is good. Why?
She's listening and understands she comes off of it, she gets necked.
What else?
She feels safe.
She
up
feels
there.
like this is a good place.
Technically, yes.
Okay.
What else?
I don't know.
She's showing caution.
Okay.
This is her safe place. Do I really want to step off again? It means something. Okay? If a dog just willy-nilly walks off of stuff, not that it's bad, but I tend to have more reservation about it. So I go, okay, if you're so willy-nilly about this,
This is significant.
correct, right? Because we want everything to be of significance. So it's not, and if I saw that, like I wouldn't say, oh crap, like do more, right? I would just say, let's keep an eye on that. Because let's say we apply it to recall, and the dog's willy-nilly about responding to things, right? And I call the dog, and it's kind of like, not today. You know, that's where I go, okay, this is where it could be a potential issue. I also go, I'm very much about playing it by ear. Every personality type is different. I get some clients with one dog, they can be super laid back with, no issues, and the other dog they have to be a complete hard ass with,
Yeah.
right? And they'll say, do I have to be this way with this dog? I go, technically no, because the personality doesn't warrant it. But do understand that this dog sees how you treat this dog. So it could potentially cause some, inconsistency to the dog. Where they're like, well, you always pet this other dog, so why do I have to listen, right? So then I'm telling them if that's the case, then in order to have real harmony, you'd have to at least be more strict with this dog to make it equal, right? This has nothing to do with intelligence. Dogs do see and observe things.
Yeah.
So when I walk into my daycare area and the dogs see me, you would see some of the dogs go to the back of the kennels, okay? And these are dogs that like have separation anxiety, that bark and bend bars, that are overstimulated. So when I come in, they're like, oh, Jesse's here.
Better behavior. Yeah.
Yes, right? They respect my presence. And you'll see some of my other employees come out and the dogs come
Yeah.
forward and they're like this, right?
Yeah.
And then lo and behold, I'm getting complaints about certain dogs are being jerks
Mm-hmm.
with certain employees.
Yeah.
And they go, how come you don't see it? I'm like, because my presence means something. They respect me.
Right.
We want respect first. Buddy stuff will always come later.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So we're gonna go to release Rue. We're gonna actually place her on that one beside your chair there. And then we're gonna bring over Lucille.
Right. Okay. Good girl.
So, here, come do with this.
Up.
Yep. Yep. There we go. Relax.
So which we're on.
Sit.
Oh,
Sit.
our practice right
Oh, yeah, please. So the reason why we moved to the neck collar is the harness gives, and you can get more slack. Yeah, yeah. The reason why we do this is you always, when the dogs see this looseness. So if I'm walking with the dog and they have this much slack, they think they have this much slack to go that way. But if they're well trained, you're walking here, and I'm completely relaxed, I'm not holding them back.
Yeah.
That is a dog that is associated, I need to walk
Should I
beside
be
my owner.
making her when she's?
We're okay for now, yeah. As we progress, we may make things a bit more strict, but in the beginning, this is normal.
Okay.
The more you practice this, the less of that you're gonna see,
Okay.
okay? So we wanna do what first before we start with Lucille? We're gonna pretend Lucille has had no training,
Okay.
now. Yeah.
okay? What would we start with right now?
The knitting,
And what?
putting her on the bed. and
Almost.
stepping.
There's a middle step. Nicking?
Pulling her towards the bed.
What did we do first with Root before I started doing the pulling towards the bed?
Finding the right level.
Correct,
Okay.
the perception level, right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna go to 10. We're on black, we're set to Nick. Tap, 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 tap. Very subtle. You can see that, right? I want a little more though. 15. Tap, 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 tap. 20. Tap, tap, tap.
Let's see, anything.
Yeah, this one's very sensitive. 25. Tap, 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 tap. A little bit. 30. Tap, 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 tap. So she's giving me responses, right? But I'm looking for a bit more. 35. Tap, 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 tap. Sure. I'm gonna go to 40. Okay. Good girl. Tap. 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 Yeah, I see it. Tap. Tap.
So hers is much higher than room.
Tap. There it is. That last contraction, did you see how strong it was? Tap.
No, I didn't really see it.
So-
I believe you.
So whenever I'm doing this, I like to look at the box. Because the area around the box is what's going to be what moves, okay? So I'm going to dip this down because as you do this more, you're going to learn to recognize the degrees of contractions. 127, you would imagine, is a
Yeah.
very noticeable contraction, right? So if I'm at 127 and I see this, what does that tell you?
It's not high enough.
It's not that it's not high enough, it's that we don't have connection.
Oh,
Because I'm not seeing the full power of 127, right?
Okay.
Because they have fur. The fur acts as a buffer, and this is why we want it snug, okay? Because if it's loose, then there's no contact. Tap,
No, tap, tap.
there you go, very good. There's no contact, you're not gonna have full power, okay? And it does happen, it's inevitable. The good thing is you guys have short-haired or short-furred breeds. So as you work with them, you'll start to learn to recognize what a 10, a 20, a 30, a 40, a 50, 60 contraction looks like. So even though I was at 40, because I saw nothing happening, I knew I had poor connection and I could keep increasing it, okay? So when I saw the actual 40 hit go through, I go, now I'm gonna dial it down, okay? Because if I keep it at 40, potentially, it's too much power,
Yeah.
okay? And it may happen, and if it does, you just reset, go down lower and keep going, never feel bad, okay? Okay, so now I'm 30. Tip, 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 tip. Good, and there's all that foundational training that Rue has from before coming through. Okay. Tip, 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 And the way she's perceiving the collar from the way that Rue's perceiving it. You see the difference?
Very different. No.
Right?
Mhm.
That's her, and she's a more nervous, shut-down-y type dog.
Yeah.
Okay? This can actually build more confidence if you're applying this correctly. And when people get dogs with behavior issues, they're like, Jesse, do I really want a dog to be more confident with these issues? I'm like, it's not confidence in like being aggressive. It's confidence in handling stress, right? So like running for me a business is stressful. And I ask people like, would you ever have your own business? No, I don't want that kind of stress, right? I can handle it, but I've grown, okay? So for the dog, when you're applying a stressor and you're giving them structure and you're teaching them how to overcome stress, that's what you're building confidence in. Oh, I can handle this. Oh, Rue running around, yeah, I don't like it, but I've had more things to be concerned about than Rue moving around. This is how all this kind of interacts with each other, okay? So different personality types. Her number is a little bit higher at the moment, but you see how she's giving me the response and she's naturally gravitating because of all the previous training, okay? So once it became concerning enough for her, she thought, you know what? I need to do something about this, so I'm gonna hop on the bed, okay? Here you go. So it's gonna be that black button, and you release her. And before you release her, I'm gonna have you go and just move around Lucille for a bit, and she should stay on that area. You wanna be careful not to put tension. So like here, when you're twisting the collar, what I would have you do is just flip this leash around, so that, there you go, and then relax. Because you wanna keep that as slack as possible, because tension on the collar would tell her to move. Yeah. Good. Let's try the other way. Good. Go ahead and okay.
Okay.
And walk. Yep. Yep. Oh, okay. Keep moving. There you go. Good. Just walk around with her. Don't worry about what her position is. We're just moving around. Go ahead and pause there. And you're going to just start tapping. Tap,
Tap, tap, tap.
right there. Good. And relax. Good. And go ahead and move around. Good. And you can see how she goes into a more relaxed state, whereas Rue was standing, right?
Yeah.
So
She
what's-
doesn't even like follow CJ around. She stays in the same place.
oh, for her?
Yeah.
And she's a more cautious personality type.
Yeah.
Okay? So the more I work with dogs and the more humans I work with, the more I see like we're not that different.
Yeah.
Okay? I have people that are super cautious, right? And they'll like do all these things naturally. And they'll ask me like, Jesse, am I too like, what would you say, worried or whatever? I'm like, no, like you're not worried. You're actually just being cautious. And that's healthy. People with animals or dogs tend to give no caution. And this is why so many people get bit or have their house torn apart within the first 24 hours of getting a rescue dog. Because they come home and go, mi casa, su casa. And then they leave the dog thinking everybody's gonna be fine. And the dog's still under stress because they went from a home to a rescue to a no-kill shelter to another home.
Yeah.
So everything's just out of whack. So then the stress gotta go somewhere.
Yeah.
Dog doesn't know where it's at, right? You know, I picked you up, I saved you from being put down, I'm bringing you home, you're gonna be safe, I'll see you in a little bit. The dog does not, okay? So caution is healthy. So we're seeing that come here through Lucille, whereas Rue's the more kind of like carefree personality.
Right.
Okay, go ahead and release Lucille.
Okay, so.
Yep, and walk around again. Okay, and hold there. Wait a sec. So you see how she's going there. So I'm gonna have you don't tap here, just use the leash and pull her off.
Okay, so.
Actually move. Okay. There we go. And hold right there. And now.
Tap, tap.
There you go. Good. So, Lucille's previous training coming through,
Yeah.
right? So she's going, you're probably gonna send me here, so I'm gonna
She's
just go there.
anticipating, yeah.
Correct, right?
Yeah.
So we don't need to release there because we didn't tell her to go there,
Mhm.
right? She just jumped the gun. So I just pull her off, I wait, create that disconnect,
Mhm.
and then, because I want to make sure it's always the tapping
Mhm.
that gets the dog to go to the actual spot itself,
Mhm.
okay? Questions so far?
No, not yet.
Okay, so I'm gonna have you do just a set of reps here. If she goes there herself, you can either stop her with the leash, but you don't want to hold her back. Once you've stopped her, I would relax and see what her next decision is. If she holds, then whenever you're ready, you tap to get her to go.
Okay. Alright. Okay, so.
Can you move?
What do you want me to do now?
No, so tap. Whenever you're ready, so tap.
Tap. Tap. Tap.
Good. Good. Go ahead and move around a little bit.
This is harder for Rue than it is for Lucy.
Yes. Good.
Okay, so.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so.
Pull, pull, pull. Good. I'm gonna have you do 3 more. So you'll walk around, you'll stop, and whenever you decide, you'll use the remote to cue her to go back to the mat. Yep. Pull, pull, pull. Pull, pull, pull. That feels good.
Tap. Tap.
Mm-hmm.
Tap.
Good. Good.
Okay, listen.
Good. Yep, pull, pull. Pull, 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 pull. Keep moving, keep moving. There you go. Good. Try for 2 more. Yep, good. Okay.
Tap. Tap. Tap.
Good.
Good girl.
So you see how she kind of moved fairly quickly
Yeah.
there? Yep,
Yeah.
there you go. On that last send there,
Mhm.
that's urgency,
Okay.
okay? There's a little bit of urgency there.
Yeah.
In the speed of, oh, I need to do something about this to get this to go away faster.
Mhm.
One more.
Okay, this one.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. Yep.
Tap. Tap. We felt that one.
Yeah, you see that?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. And go ahead and just drop your leash, and you can have a seat right there in that chair. So, you noted, oh, you felt that one,
Mhm.
because you saw the power coming through.
Mhm.
So 35 started to kick in on the last one, okay? And for one of 2 reasons. One, of course, dogs aren't meant to have their muscles contracted to tell them to do stuff.
Mhm.
is that once the brain becomes aware of this thing that's communicating now, they get more sensitive to it.
Yeah.
Because now they're expecting it,
Yeah.
right? That you start to see the full power come through. And then the dog, like when she moved to urgency, walks around, good, he released, good, he walked around again. And Lucille did something that I liked a lot, which was she didn't assume. She went to his other side. The reason why I like that is because it's caution, but another type of caution. Instead of running there, she's like, you've been telling me no. You've been telling me every time I hop on you prematurely to not do that.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna wait for you to give me direction. That's what I liked about that. That's what that communicated to me,
Yes.
okay? And then once you did kick in with the 35 or something, 36?
I haven't touched it yet, 35.
35. Ooh, big response,
Yeah.
turned around, boom,
Yeah.
right? So one of two things, you could technically dial it down, right? Or I can go, oh, 35 is really meaningful to her, so I'm gonna keep it there until it seems like it's overwhelming. And then I can dip it down, okay? There's no right or wrong to this, because just as the dog's learning, you're learning as well. Like, there's a lot of things that I can cut out of this, and teaching the dogs. Because I've been doing this for like, bless you, 8-10 years, right? Whereas you guys are just learning this stuff. So everything I saw from these two was really good, okay? What I like is that you got two different personality types.
Yeah.
This allows you to see them for who they are,
Right.
okay? As you noted earlier, much harder for Rue to do this type of thing,
Yeah.
right? Lucille's telling me like, yeah, I could do it just being chill. Like I like the chill, right? Whereas she's like, I would like to party.
Yes.
Okay? But now the brain can only stay in that state for so long. So then once you put it under control, you start to see this.
Yeah.
Okay? So we have had we had a board and train come through in December. It was a Black Russian Terrier. His name is Jaeger. And for the first time he was here,
I've never seen a Black Russian in person. Sorry, I'm a groomer, so
They're
like I'm a
huge.
breed. I'm like,
he's
well, I'd love to
150
see one of
pounds.
those.
He's huge.
Yeah.
Okay? So the first thing we did was teach place work.
Yeah.
And for the first week, he did not lay down. He would sit for hours. Because we do extended duration work. We don't do 5 minutes. You're not going to move for the next 2 hours.
Yeah.
And he would just sit there panting, right? Or standing for like 30 minutes, which
Yeah.
is exhausting,
Yeah.
right? And after a week, he started to lay down. And it would be, 30 minutes of panting and standing, 15 minutes of rest mode.
Yeah.
Another 30 minutes of panting and standing, 15 minutes of rest mode. And then it became 15 minutes of panting and standing, 30 minutes of rest mode, and kind of this fluctuation. So eventually we would send him, and he would just go boom, just like that.
Yeah.
He would go into a resting state. But in the beginning, because he was so used to, because he was just around a year,
Okay.
or he is just around a year, because it was just a couple months ago we trained him. He was the puppy, the unstructured 150-pound puppy
Yeah.
that was used to just doing whatever he wanted, just like Rue. So once we started slamming him with, like, now you can't do that, anxiety.
Yeah.
Because he's like, what do you mean I can't do this? I did it for this year of my life, right? Is that it causes stress and anxiety, and he could only, obviously it was physically exhausting, but the emotional stress overrode the physical exhaustion. Okay, so the analogy I give to people is like someone who's like, I don't know if I saw some movie, the guy was like on cocaine for like 48 hours, and he didn't sleep. And then finally the cocaine wears out, and he just crashes.
Yeah.
Because he is physically exhausted,
Yeah.
but because of the drug and it's overriding the mental state, he was up for over an extended period of time. So same thing for the dog. Dog's standing, they're exhausted, but the stress of what's going on and the anxiety doesn't allow it to register.
Right.
So once the brain goes, this is exhausting, I can't be anxious all the time, then the brain goes, man, I'm really tired. And then eventually the dog just goes into a resting state from the get-go. Okay? So I would anticipate for Rue, and she's not that bad, she's already settling in, is I expect that in the beginning, especially in the home, because of the association, right? Things are always harder in the home than they are here. So what they're learning is we go to this place out in the city, and it's just structure, right? That's their first impression.
Yeah.
You take them back home, and they're going, wait a minute, but we've been doing this for the past couple of years. What do you mean we have to stay still now?
Yeah,
That it may be a little difficult.
right.
So your homework for this week. Is I would focus more on Rue if you're limited on time. Okay, because she already has a foundation and I can see it. Okay, so we have two aspects to this. We have training the send, which is what we were doing.
Yeah.
Tap, 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 hop in the bed. The next half is the duration part of it. So like you've been sitting there for like 15 minutes, 20 minutes with Rue,
Yeah,
right?
she just now started to get.
Exactly, right? She's starting to fluctuate. So what I'm gonna have you try here is give a tap.
Tap.
And just wait. Tap again.
Tap.
And wait. What number are you at?
I'm at 30 right now.
Go to 18. Tap.
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 Tap. Tap.
Tap.
Tap.
Tap.
Tap.
Almost.
Tap.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Tap.
There.
Good girl.
Okay. With her, I'm gonna have you avoid the good girl.
Okay, that makes her excited.
Do you see that? Yeah. Yeah.
Tap. Tap. Tap.
Yeah.
Tap.
Yeah. Okay. So, place command is loose. Go here. Sit, stand, lay down. I don't care. But there's also mental state. Okay. So with Lucille here, we've done no additional tapping.
Yeah.
She goes into a resting state. Rue stays in a state of stimulation,
Yeah.
right? We were at 30. We go down to 18. We're tapping.
CJ, what?
She keeps shaking.
Oh, that's stress. That's from the remote. That's similar to her with the caution. When that one didn't come off, it's the same thing as stress.
Okay.
She goes from escalated to resting, right? Is if you want to get more progress with Rue, I push for a little more. Okay, now if you're doing the send and release, you don't need to do that because you're just teaching go here, get off, go here, get off, right? But let's say you're gonna have Rue rest there for a period of time. At that point, you could ask for more, right? And the more you condition this, like right now that took like 15 to 20 taps. And we went from 30 to 18 because I didn't need more power.
Yeah.
You know, to create more calmness, I went lower. A couple of taps and they were spaced out because every time I tap, I'm giving the dog an opportunity to respond in this moment because it's a low degree behavior. Just go into a resting state.
Yeah.
Most people would see the sit. They said, oh, why don't you just tell the dog sit? I'm like, because it's not about sit. Sit is mechanical response. Sit is put your butt down.
Yeah.
So dog can sit and still be excited,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We don't want that. We want resting state. So visually, it looks like a sit, but it's not a sit, it's a relax.
Okay.
You see that?
Because I was thinking that, I was like, I can tell her to sit and she'll probably say, yeah.
Yep. That's everybody's first impression.
Right.
I don't care about, remember, it's not about physical control. It's about mental control.
Okay.
Okay? So what you're telling Rue is, go here, relax. As opposed to just go here and you could technically let the brain write it out, right? But you're gonna probably struggle with because in the home she's so used to just doing whatever she wants, more likely to want to break the position. Okay. This also helps you learn the nuances of remote. Because when it comes to behavior, it's not a concrete answer.
Yeah.
There are so many variables, right? So when you learn how to communicate to your dog via the press of a button, you're much more able to prevent things from happening.
Yeah.
Right? So like, let's say I start to see Rue give like a look of something and they tap. You know, most people try to use commands to stop the zoomies.
Yeah.
I go, no, just tell the brain to relax through a correction.
Yeah.
You know, so the sending exercise, which is what you're doing right now, if you each did 3 to 5 minutes per dog, so 2 sessions apiece, so you did one with her and then one with Rue and then vice versa, you're good. Okay, all you're trying to create is tap send. Okay, no word. Once you start to see the dog just shoots there, then I don't layer it, but then I can go, okay, you already know the send, now I'm gonna go to application, okay? When it comes to doing this stuff, I like to call myself the lazy man's dog trainer. If I know I'm gonna watch a movie for an hour and a half, take my bed, pop it right next to me, just like you've been sitting down this whole time, tap, send, relax, watch a movie. 30 minutes in, Rue goes, this is done, I'm gonna get up. I address her, boom, back to relax. I don't need to even get up. 15 minutes later, she tries to hop off, boop, 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 nope. 20 minutes later, boop, 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 nope, right? So you're teaching her how to be in a resting state for an extended period of time, and you're not doing anything.
Right. But it's still okay for them to just play together at the house, like.
Yes and no.
Okay.
Okay, I don't know what the answer is gonna be at the end.
Okay.
Okay, because we have to find the structure.
Okay.
The playing in the home, in my book, I don't let dogs play in the house.
Okay.
Okay, the reason is it becomes looseness.
Yeah.
I'm more like you play in the yard, and when we're in the house, you're chill.
Okay.
Because you got to think of the play as stimulation. Okay, and they're already in this state, and then like maybe they're both playing,
Yeah.
and then maybe Lucille decides I'm done playing,
Yeah. And we're still.
and you're not ready for it because you're just chilling in the home, as opposed to we're outside, we're grilling, and I have my dogs off leash, and I'm watching them. I'm actively controlling the situation.
Right.
You know, that's the thing is, most people are wanting or are used to dogs that they can just play and they don't have to worry about anything and they can go unobserved. But I come into so many homes where that's the thought process until there's a severe dog fight.
Yeah.
Right? And I go, yeah. I'm like, you just happen to have a couple of dogs that they played together for years, but then somebody nipped too hard, somebody jumped on the other, somebody got mounted, they didn't want to be mounted because they got tired of it over the course of 2-3 years.
Yeah.
And that it happened.
Yeah.
Right? It's like kids. You know, when people take their kids to the playground, I would hope that they're watching their child. Everybody's in charge of their own kid. You regulate your child.
Right.
But then we start having conversations. We hear a kid crying. What happened? Well, nobody knows because nobody was observing.
Right.
You see?
Yeah.
So that's the issue I have with it. I don't care.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's your house, your rules, right? But think of the playing in the home as kind of a lack of structure. Now, it's one thing if you decide, hey guys, we're going to play fetch in the home for 30 minutes, and you do so, and it's controlled because you're actively a part of it, and then you decide we're done, and you shut everybody down, and everybody goes into a resting state. You're good because you have on and off switch.
Yeah.
You know, so the first thing we want always is the off switch, because remember the on switch is easy, it's the off switch that's hard. And then I start to bring things back.
Yeah.
This isn't a permanent thing, right? So when I put structure to things, and I go, we're gonna remove treats for no reason, we're gonna remove praise for no reason, we're gonna remove access to the couches and the beds, free reign in the home, playing whenever you want. We get the control in, and then we start to bring little things back.
Okay.
So if something offsets the structure, it's like a science experiment.
Yeah.
Constants and variables.
Okay.
Here's our constants, these are the variables. Once we got this down, now let's start throwing in the variables and see what happens. Okay? So it's not that they can't, it's just I would be more strict about things, okay? And I'm more cautious than most because I've seen where things can go, and I'm trying to prevent that as much as possible.
Right.
I had another client, I think before I tell you guys, she hired me because her dogs had gotten in a fight. She has 2 dogs, and those dad fight. Came in, put in structure. Fast forward a year and a half, dog's got another fight. And I told her, if you're gonna reintegrate, because they try to introduce a puppy, I was like, muzzle everybody. I was like, take the time, keep them separated, muzzle train them, call me when you're ready.
Yeah.
2 days later, I get a call. Jesse, my dog's got in a fight again. I'm like, how did they get in a fight if they're supposed to be separated and muzzled? They were doing great together.
That, we've done that twice now, where we're like, it seems okay now.
It's unresolved tension.
Yeah.
Okay? So, does it mean it's gonna happen? No. But I've seen it happen time and time again, that I'd rather avoid it.
Yeah.
You know, because we want to go back to normalcy, which I understand. But it comes with a lot of risk if we're not taking the right precautions. Okay?
Right.
So your homework for this week, 3 to 5 minutes each dog for each of you. So each dog will get 2 sessions of the send stuff. Okay? And you want to do it from different positions. Don't get stuck. Like if you set up a bed in the corner of the house, don't get stuck on always sending like this. Because then your dog is very visual on that. Okay? Send from different positions, like you were here.
But the bed should always be in the same place? Or does it not matter? Should the bed be moved around?
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
In the beginning, if you want to make it easier, you can.
Okay.
Keep the same place, right?
Yeah.
Your dog can learn object. So when you say place, I always get sent to this particular object. So it doesn't matter where I move it, they'll learn to just go there. Okay? Up. So from any direction, and then what I'll start to do is if I tap Lucille and she shoots here, and I do it for every direction, she's great, then I go, cool. What about from this far? What about from this far? What about from this far? Right? So place should technically be, no matter where you are in the home, they go there.
Yeah.
Okay? Don't feel like you have to be there by the end of the week. All I really care about is an ease, tap, send. Good. And then duration. When it comes to duration, you don't have to do 5 minutes one day, then 10 minutes the next day, 15. If I'm gonna sit and not be doing anything for 20 minutes, for 2 hours, 2 hours.
Okay.
Right? Like you've been there now going on half an hour.
Yeah.
She's been there going about 10 minutes. Right? And I wouldn't do this. I did it with her because I know she wasn't gonna do anything now.
Yeah.
And then Rue, she's more impulsive, so we kept her on the leash, right?
Yep.
So since I'm not worried about Lucille, I was like, yeah, we're gonna just do that for example. But for this first week, you always wanna be right next to them, okay? And you don't have to hold the leash either. You can drop it at your feet,
Yeah.
you know, but you wanna have the leash on, because in case Rue decides to like get off, what happens when you don't have the leash and you try to remote them, a dog's first instinct is always to run away when they don't understand something. So then you're remoting Rue and she's like, well, I'm gonna run all the way to the end of the house.
Yeah.
Right? So the leash helps eliminate options, okay, and limits range of motion. So it makes it easier for the dog to pick up on what they're doing incorrectly. If you see them prematurely breaking, don't say no, don't say stop. You wouldn't say place, there's no words. You simply start remoting, okay? The remote, the contraction, is the nonverbal cue of you need to go here. Okay? We will use the verbal cue of okay for us to release them and let them know that their job is done. Okay?
Makes sense, yeah.
Okay. Questions?
I don't think so. I think we're good, yeah.
So a nice, easy indoor exercise that you can do
Yep.
to get you used to the remote, how it works and everything. Bruce,
Yes.
right? If you have one for him, like I suggest working with him. It's easy.
Yeah.
You want to find your perception levels first. Once you found it, slight tension in the remote to direct him. Okay.
Yeah.
If you start to see opposition reflex as you're tugging, you simply go higher. 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. Okay. At some point, and he might be 60, he might be 20. You're going to see him start to struggle.
Yeah.
That's telling you you're getting close to his breaking point. I keep going until eventually he hops on, I relax, I go back down again.
Yeah.
And then I restart. Until eventually he goes, resistance doesn't get me anywhere, but compliance does,
Yeah.
right? It'll help you learn the remote more because you're doing it yourself from scratch technically. So you can do that with him if you like, and it'd be the same thing, 3 to 5 minutes with him a day. These sessions are longer because I have to teach them, then teach you, then teach you to teach them. I would concentrate on her if you're limited on time. So I would probably do 3/4 of my time with her, the other quarter with her, if you can't do half and half. Okay?
You want us to bring Bruce next week? All three or just the two?
Try doing this with Bruce, see how it goes.
Okay.
If it's like he did great, then we can focus on these two. I think the only one where you may have issues is either with the leash walking, or if we teach the down command, or when walking the three of them together.
Right.
That's a whole different ballpark.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, okay. Other than that, we can play that by ear.
Great.
Okay? Questions?
No, I think we're good, yeah.
Okay.
I really didn't expect you to do as well as you did, so I'm very
That's
happy
what,
with
yeah, no,
this.
remote collar is super easy.
Yeah.
It's very effective. It's just people's they're thinking of, oh, this thing is meant to hurt dogs, so let me use it that way.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, you're being aggressive, let me go to 100. It's not how it works. Everything has to be appropriate to the behavior, but people tend to think that way, right? It's always as low as possible, but as high as needed. Now, it's not to say that I won't go to 100 for a dog, but I try, 0 to 100 first, because what happens is if you slam it, the dog goes into panic.
Yeah.
They don't understand why, and they don't really retain the lesson.
Yeah.
As opposed to, every time I try to bite you, this goes off, but when I stop biting you, it stops. That's when the dog starts to learn.
Right.
So, don't use the collars for anything that we've not gone over.
Okay.
Okay, just keep it super simple. And with the harnesses and stuff, for now they're fine. They're the front clip harnesses, right?
Yeah.
So when you leave, you can clip to what you normally have them on.
Okay.
Once we cover the leash walking stuff, then we'll talk about removing the harnesses and just going to the regular flat collar.
Okay.
They may need prong collars just because when you're walking 3 dogs, if it's just one handler, it'll make it easier for the handler.
Yeah.
Okay, especially Bruce because he's so big.
Right.
He has a prong collar.
Yeah, we have it somewhere. He's got a big
Yeah.
one. She's got one too.
We
From
haven't,
beach.
right, we haven't used it in a couple of years now.
Sure. Go ahead and next time bring them with you
Okay.
so I can see them
Yeah.
and make sure they're the appropriate thickness
Yeah.
and they're fitted correctly.
Yeah. Bruce was trained by a guy who trains police dogs. So he got an outfit with a really nice one. So yeah.
And okay, here for the release.
Okay.
Very good. All right.
Awesome.
It was a pleasure, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome. If you need anything, feel free to contact us.